Get started. Good evening and welcome to
Monday Movie Madness with your hosts,
Mel and
Zim.
totally unrehearsed. Doesn't sound rehearsed at all. Totally natural.
No,
We're wonderful actors. So I say we need to kind of jump in because I have
You don't want to do the movies we watched this week?
so much to say.
I made a list.
Okay, so look, we keep freezing. Are we frozen again? Look at that. Why does it keep doing that? What is going on? Are we smooth for you guys? Because on ours, we keep seeing like a little like spinny thing come up, like we're not, like the stream is pausing and then restarting. Is that going on for you guys, or is it smooth for you guys? That's not helpful because I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
Okay.
No, it says we're going. Oh, yikes! We just went down to kilobytes per second. Oh, it's all We're green though.
Super green.
It's like really unstable. I don't know what's going on tonight, guys. So, Eve, I don't know if the no was no, we're not smooth, or no, you're not having a problem. It's fine there. Okay. Well, for us, it keeps, like, it just did it again. So I don't know what in the world is going on.
Well, hello, everybody.
Hi. I'm going to just slip off the screen here for a second and take a look at my main monitor. And Zim's going to tell you what movies he has been watching this week.
Feel free to shout out and say hi to us. I'm going to go over some movies that I watched this week, which are... So we watched 3 Billboards last night, and afterwards I needed something light and cheery, and found myself watching Zodiac, which was really good, but not light or cheery. It's, of course, about the Zodiac murders. This week I also watched the sequel to the classic horror film The Blob. I watched Beware the Blob, which is really cheesy. I watched early 2000s Kirsten Dunst's comedy Get Over It. After seeing Dazed and Confused, I was kind of in the mood to keep going with the whole teen experience thing, and did 2 80s movies, The Breakfast Club and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And then I watched David Byrne, lead singer of Talking Heads. He did a movie about a bunch of people in Virgil, Texas called True Stories, and I watched that. And that was my, besides the Olympics, that was my total film experience this week.
You did a lot more than me.
Yeah, I did.
So I've gotten my 6-year-old hooked on Divergent, which I didn't expect her. It was more, I showed her the first movie because she had seen most of the Marvel movies and handled them okay, and I was like, this isn't any worse than that. So we watched the first one so she'd have like a good like female role model to kind of, because Triss is awesome.
Yeah.
And she goes through like, she's strong in spite of being scared of some things. And so like that's, I think, a really good example for girls. And for anybody really, but our daughter needs that kind of influence. And so I showed her the movie, not really expecting the monster that I created. So we've now started reading the book, and so this week we watched the second movie, Insurgent, which if you've read the books, you know the movies as of the second one diverge a bit. They're a bit divergent from the books.
That's so funny.
And then my 4-year-old, we watched the second Harry Potter movie. He was very excited to see the giant snake. We had to do it in 2 bits, though, because we were watching it at night. I'm just going to tell the funny story because It was cute. We were watching it at night, and because we do a snuggle night every week. And so we swap. So, like, he has our daughter on Friday nights, and I have our son, and then on Saturday we swap.
Yep.
And so they get one-on-one time with us, not just family time.
Mm-hmm.
And so on Friday, I was watching Harry Potter on his request, and he wanted to see the next one. because he had been told, I don't know if I told him there was a giant snake in it or if she told him there was a giant, I don't know what happened, but he knew there was a giant snake and wanted to see it. So we're watching the movie and things are going along fine. He's loving it. And then all of a sudden goes, "Aw, now I'm not going to get to see the giant snake." And I was like, "What?" And he like lays down and is asleep. Just like that. And I was like, okay. So I paused the movie and we finished it today. But then my daughter ended up joining us partway through. And so then we watched the third Harry Potter movie. And then we watched the fourth Harry Potter movie. So we did a whole Harry Potter day today. She hadn't seen the fourth Harry Potter movie. That one was new for her. So she now knows the end of that, which has been difficult to keep secret, that you know who comes back alive and well.
Who?
You know who. He who must not be named. Anyway, so I've had a very literary movie week because all I've seen is movies based on books and the one we're discussing tonight, which is not based on a book.
No, not based on a book at all. So, all right. You want to go into it then?
I think you were doing the top bit.
Yep.
Because you had this whole. You've got your own.
I do. What did I do
Don't
with mine?
steal my papers. These are my papers.
Sorry. So we obviously did 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Hey.
This was from 2017, so it's a fairly new film. It's based on a true story, but actually took place just outside of Beaumont, Texas in 1991. And the billboards are actually still standing today because the police stopped or did not cooperate in the case because the assumed suspect or person who did it was the son of a wealthy local family.
This person who allegedly did it.
Yeah. There's the word I was trying to think of.
Yep. He's the person who did it because that's assigning blame without cause. So, person who allegedly did it is a
the police
guy from a wealthy family, and it's a rape victim, and we all know that if you are male and rich, you don't get held accountable for rape. Brock Turner.
Well, Bill Cosby. He'd still be in jail if they hadn't, if the prosecution had done their jobs right.
I'm sorry. Let me say this again. If you are rich and white and male, you don't get held accountable.
What's his name? Miramax. The movie producer.
Because a bunch of other rich people pointed the finger.
Okay.
And then you've got Brock Turner, who does 3 months of his 6-month sentence and then gets out on good behavior because we don't want to ruin his life.
Okay.
He's a promising young man.
Anyway, so 3 Billboards it got 232 nominations.
That's
including
well earned.
Including an Oscar for supporting actor for Woody Harrelson and a Golden Globe for supporting actor for Woody Harrelson. He did not win. However, the movie won 131 out of the 232 nominations. And some of the highlights it did win for were best.
We're not going to tell you all 131.
No.
We'd be here until 1 in the morning.
But best actress in a leading role for Frances McDormand.
And her speech was incredible. I highly encourage you to Google it. I should have made a little thing of it. It was amazing, and I said I was gonna, and then I forgot because I just put the links together tonight. But I definitely go onto YouTube and just look for Frances McDormand's Best Actress speech. It was phenomenal. It's very, very good.
And then the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, instead of Woody Harrelson, it went to Sam Rockwell.
They were both nominated. Yeah, they were both nominated.
And when Sam Rockwell won, Woody Harrelson said that he was the better choice and was all happy for him and celebrated it. So that I think is pretty cool. It also won an Oscar for Best Motion Picture. It won Golden Globe for pretty much everything it was nominated for except for Woody Harrelson because, again, Sam
Rockwell
won. But Best Motion Picture, Golden Globe, Best Actress, Best Writer, or Best Screenplay, Best Director, everything it was nominated for at the Golden Globes. And then you can go beyond that. Like, it just won a massive ton of awards.
So here's a hot tip. This movie is hella good.
Yeah.
It deserves all of it. So let's, real quick, the director is Martin McDonagh. McDonagh.
Yep.
That sounds very Scottish. It's got to be
He
Scottish.
might be. Yeah, he's got...
Whether it's him or not, his name is.
He's got a... It actually sounded more British, but yeah.
No. If that spelling is pronounced Dunna, that is definitely Scottish. Do I have another error? Are we still up? Why? I'm getting kind of irritated about this because my computer keeps putting up... Whoa, what is happening? This video is either unavailable or not supported in this browser. And yet it still says we are live. So, and here we are. We are back.
Okay, can you guys see us? We have 0 viewers.
I'm so confused. You are live, but experiencing a couple interruptions. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on at all. We're back down to 0 kilobytes again. What the hell? Like, we're way up, doing great, and then we're way back down. I'm going to just pop out and see what other people are doing.
Okay.
Because if you've got 3 people and they're all streaming movies, then, like, something's got to give. So, give me just 1 second. You go ahead and go through, and I'm going to go, like, rain hell down.
You want me to go through the rest of the people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So, Martin McDonagh, he was a playwright for Broadway and transitioned to film. He's most known for in Burgess, 7 Psychopaths, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and 6 Shooter, which is a short film. Woody Harrelson, of course, plays Chief Willoughby. We will cover him later as he's our Actor of the Month. Frances McDormand plays Mildred Hayes. She is best known for Fargo, amazing movie. 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Moonrise Kingdom, and Almost Famous. Sam Rockwell plays Deputy Dixon. IMDb has him most known for Moon, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, and 7 Psychopaths. Also, if you're a Marvel fan, he is in the second Iron Man as the owner of the other tech company that is competing for contracts with Stark Industries. Other notable cast members are Caleb Landry Jones as Red Welby. He is he's the head or he's the person running the advertising company that owns the billboards. Lucas Hedges plays Robbie Hayes, who is Mildred's son. Catherine Newton played Angela Hayes, who is Mildred's daughter.
Who's from Supernatural?
Peter Dinklage is in it as James, and Brendan Sexton III. They just have him credited as cropped-haired guy, but he's the main suspect throughout the movie, and always plays like a creepy person in movies.
I have no idea what's going on. No idea. Okay, what was I going to say? I thought there was something I was going to say about one of these. Red Welby, did you tell them that we'll see him again?
No, I did not.
Yeah, eventually we're going to do either Theo James or... Crap, I knew his name yesterday and today I can't remember it. I'm bad with names. My brain is 6 different ways right now because I'm trying to figure out what's going on with our internet. I am so annoyed with our internet right now. Because nobody else in the house is having problems and only one person is streaming. and they're streaming PBS, so it should be fine. So I don't know what the problem is. But we've been having issues the last couple days where things have been like really, like I don't know what's going on.
So I went through them all.
What's his name?
You're talking about the guy from Ant-Man.
Michael Pena.
Yeah.
There we go. I was like, I just need a second, and it'll come to me. Well, we will do probably both of them eventually, and so it's our upload is the issue. I don't know why. Everything was working until we started streaming.
It was working fine.
And then, like, we even tried restarting OBS, and I have no idea what's going on. So, anyway, we will do either Theo James or Michael Pena at some point, and you will see Caleb Landry Jones, who played Red Welby in this, them, because he plays a very bad guy in one of the movies that we'll do. It's actually a movie we wanted to do when we covered Alexander Skarsgård, and I think it got cut because we had really bad storms one night, and we had to cancel our show last minute because we kept losing power.
Yes.
And we had planned to do that show, so you will see him again. It could be Twitch. I don't know. I wasn't watching anyone on Twitch this evening, so I don't know if this is a common problem or not.
Also, Peter Dinklage should be familiar to everyone. He's,
I think he became famous in Game of Thrones.
No, I mean the thing that
I didn't know
remember
him before that.
Elf. He's the angry elf.
I know, but that's not something that's gonna like make you famous. I think it was Game of Thrones that really put him on the map.
I mean, in the cinephile world, it's Station Agent, but which was his first big movie. And then, of course, the Saturday Night Live skit where he's dressed in silver and singing the song while doing the robot and just keeps annoying the people at the table. It's really funny. Look it up when you get a chance. Peter Dinklage, Saturday Night Live. It's hilarious.
Okay. I really liked his character in this movie, too.
Yeah.
This movie had a lot of... I like that the movie is about one thing, but also kind of throws some other social commentary in there, and they covered racism and various other prejudices along the way as well, and I liked that.
That's something that McDonough always works in as a theme in his movies, is he attacks racism, anti-LGBTQ feelings. He attacks sexism. Like, he's really big about working that thread and that message into his movies. And in this one, I mean, what a time. It released in 2017, and it's one of the major threads of the film is police racism and violence. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's so tight.
And the police, like, no accountability, because there's something, and we'll cover it in the spoilers. I'm sure we'll discuss it, because it's kind of a major thing that happens in the movie, where a police officer does something right in front of the other police officers and then just turns around and walks back into the station. And it was a pretty extreme thing that he did, and they literally do nothing. They don't try to stop him. They don't hold him accountable. Like, it's just like nothing. They literally just stand there and then let him walk back into the station, and they don't even say, dude, what the hell?
Right.
Like, nothing. Not even, like, socially held accountable. Literally nothing. You're just like, well, happened. They address not just
racism, but he's also mean to the guy who runs the ad company. Mm-hmm. He thinks he's gay, but I don't think he was.
They weren't ever really clear, but I don't think it mattered.
Right, but he treated him like he was, and that was a bad thing.
Yeah,
is the way he came off, and was abusive to it. And then,
oh yeah, Eve, we're gonna get to that.
and then people are also very discriminatory towards Peter Dinklage character and saying slurs because he's...
Oh yeah, he says like every single wrong word for everything.
Yeah.
Like, and we're not even talking political correctness. We're talking like every single slur that is possible. He's just an asshole.
Yeah. So it was something that I think really... McDonough really did a good job working those things in. And then as to what Eve alluded to, we will get to in the spoiler section. But
yes, if you're just listening and you don't have the video up, Eve said she loved the redemption that happens in this movie, and we're kind of holding off on that until we get to the spoiler section at the end. But we will definitely talk about that, because I agree, and I do believe that is why Oscars were won.
Yes. All right.
So let's talk characters. Mildred Hayes, main character. I guess if you don't know the general premise for the movie, if you didn't get a chance to watch it, basically the movie is about a mom whose daughter is brutally raped and murdered, and the police stop investigating. Basically, they don't have any leads, and so they just kind of stick it on a back shelf and they're done. And she's kind of ticked about the fact that she hasn't heard anything from them for 7 months, and so she puts up these billboards that say, I'm trying to remember what they say. The first one said raped while dying. Second one said, and still no arrests. And the third one said, why
Chief Willoughby.
Why Chief Willoughby.
Yeah.
And suddenly she's getting all kinds of attention from the police.
Yeah.
Not necessarily good attention, but attention, and suddenly, like, people are looking into the case again. So
and the director writer, he also wrote the film. He said that was so important to him because he felt that this was a study on how everyone has that loss. Everyone deals with the frustration of having no answers. And what people do. Do we just sit there and stew in it? Or are we going to be like those who stir the pot and mix things up to try and get answers? And she is very much...
Stir the pot.
Stir the pot.
Yep.
So he wrote the part for her. Interesting
I was
story.
going to say that.
She met him backstage at a show like 10 years before this movie was written. And... it was funny because she said that in the interview I saw, she said that she always hated when people did this to the Coen brothers, because if you don't know her work, she's like in almost every Coen brothers film, including the amazing Fargo. And
I've still never seen that.
Okay. Moving on. She said that before she could stop herself, she said, "Oh, why don't you write a part for me?" And then 10 years later, she gets a call, and he's like, "I've got a part for you." So he literally wrote this part for her. She said that she based Mildred off of John Wayne, especially when he played the gritty characters in the John Ford movies.
Could see that.
She said that she purposely tried to walk like him and have the same kind of swagger. And... she picked out her costume. She decided in her head that the jumpsuit she's wearing is one of her ex-husband's work uniforms. And so in her head, this is how she dealt with the character.
I like
and
that.
So that's why she wears it. And she wears the bandana because it's an homage to Christopher Walken's character in The Deer Hunter.
Wow.
Yes. So she really
cool.
thought through this character.
It shows. And it shows really that the character was written for her, because she fits it so beautifully. And I can't imagine another actress who could pull off that mix of vulnerability and toughness at the same time with the grittiness. There's definitely some grittiness there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, very clearly. And I don't know that I can think of anybody that could do that so successfally.
And the director agreed. He was like, I just could not see anyone else when I started writing this character ever playing this part.
Yeah, she really is perfect for it.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend it just for her performance. Although I'm going to get into some other, because I think this is one of those movies, and I mean, obviously people agree with me because they won a hell of a bunch of awards. 131 awards. They won 131 awards for this movie. But this is one of those movies where things just kind of come together beautifully, where the mix of actors that you have are perfect for the role and able to do things within those roles that create this highly complex and deep narrative beyond just what's being spoken.
Mm-hmm.
And I just it was just a really powerful thing to watch, even if you didn't care about the story itself, which is a really compelling story, and so why you wouldn't, I'm not sure, but just seeing the way the characters are performed and the way the actors have just kind of lost themselves. I think all of the actors, like, it just, they really, there's a moment when we see Red Welby for the first time where I was like, oh, that's the dude from that Alexander Skarsgård movie with Michael Pena. And, like, there was a split second for that, and then he was even gone. Like, I was like, nope. Like, same actor, but just so much this world. Like, the world and the people, like, it's so... I don't even know if I can put it into words. Like, it's just so easy to get lost in it because they do such an incredible job of just kind of wrapping you in it. And drawing you in. It's so damn good. This movie was good, guys. Deputy Dixon. Let's talk Deputy Dixon. We can't talk Chief Willoughby until we get to everything.
Yeah.
You put it in the wrong spot. Ugh. It's okay. Dixon. So, Dixon, you love to hate him. He is such an asshole.
Yeah. But
he's got a really... So, Dixon is played by Sam Rockwell. He's the one that beat out Woody Harrelson for the awards. Yep. And I while I don't necessarily agree that his performance is exactly better, I do think it's the easier one to see. And I have a whole thing that I'm going to describe when we get to Woody Harrelson, because this was different than anything I've ever seen him in. But with Sam Rockwell, his character... with Deputy Dixon, his character does have this very traditional kind of redemption story. And, like, you start off just hating him, and then through the course of the movie, various things happen, and he kind of goes on this journey. But his journey, I think, is more on the surface. Like, it's a more, like, linear story. Like, this happens, and then this happens, and this happens. Whereas I feel like Chief Willoughby, Woody Harrelson's character, a lot of what made his performance astounding was a little more internalized, which I think it's a little more difficult to see. And I think that's why Sam Rockwell, over the two of them, why he would have been picked for the awards. It's just my guess.
I think with Sam Rockwell, I mean, there's a scene towards the beginning of the movie where he's kind of misbehaving, and one of the other officers asks Willoughby, "Why do you keep that guy on?" And he's like, he's actually a good person at heart, and
way deep down.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Well, he tortured a suspect," and he was like, "There was no real evidence.
Like, there's actual evidence," which may totally happen.
So, it's like Willoughby sees.
He sees something more.
He sees something more.
And we'll talk about that more in spoilers.
Yeah. But I think that just the way that character goes on his journey, I think that it makes sense that he won over Willoughby, or over Woody Harrelson. So.
Well, and you'll hear me say this over and over and over again. What I really love is dynamic characters. I love characters who are one way on the surface and another way inside. I love characters that go on this huge journey. I love dynamic characters. I hate flat, one-dimensional characters. Like, if all you have is one-dimensional characters, I can't even get into it, because nobody is one-dimensional. People are complex and complicated, and therefore relationships are complex and complicated. And if you don't do it that way, which was one of the complaints I had about Dazed and Confused, right? It's part of what I didn't like it, was you have so many characters, there's no time to develop any of them. And so you don't get the deeper stories, you don't get the deeper journeys.
But that's not what that movie's about.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. All right.
It doesn't matter.
We've already said everything to say about that movie.
Because the kind of characters that I like are like the characters that I get behind and that I get drawn into and that I identify with and that I connect with and that I have an emotional journey with. Those characters are always the characters that are the most dynamic. And this movie, that is literally every single character, including the one that has 10 seconds of screen time and is dead at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
You've even got, like, you see a flashback with her. You see a couple of moments, and you get some stories about her from other people. And you realize that she's this very complex character as well. Mm-hmm. And this movie is like, it's so good. I really like this one.
So did you like this one?
I do, yes. Very, very, very much. The movie's really good. Because it's the kind of thing that I like. Not even just the story. Because the story itself is not necessarily the stuff that I like. It could have gone way too far for me. Because I struggle a bit with stories about rape. Mm-hmm. As a woman, it's a very scary topic. And it's always one that is really, really challenging for me to kind of deal with in stories. And so knowing what the movie was about going in, I was a little bit nervous. But the script has such a nice mix of wit along with kind of the gritty details. And the way they present what happened, at no point do you see it reenacted. You do see a glimpse of a crime scene photo.
Yep.
But it's not even like it's like right in front of the camera. You see Chief Willoughby holding it. And it's where you can clearly see it, but also it's not the only thing happening in the scene. And so it's just enough for you to get a glimpse and to get a sense. And other than that, your knowledge of what happened is sort of given in little bits throughout the story in terms of the crime. And the movie itself is not actually about the crime, but more a mother kind of fighting for justice and fighting to keep attention on her daughter's case. Mm-hmm. And she even says a line at one point, and I don't remember when, but she literally says cases that have the most attention on them, like the best you can keep the attention on, more likely it is to get solved. And she's actually right. That is actually true, which is why so often in cases you will see the parents on the news speaking. Even in kidnapping cases, they'll have parents actually get on the news and say things because it keeps the kid in the public eye and it helps make a link to the kidnapper. And you have to keep it out there and have to keep it out there and have to keep it out there. And it's so unfair to the parents, to the families of the people who are lost, the people who are missing, because they're the ones that have to go through that. But at the same time, it is the thing that helps keep it in the public's eye. And if it's in the public's eye, then the police are sort of obligated to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And so it's very smart what she does. And that's the story is really more about that than about the case itself. And sort of how the community responds to her and the way that she seeks justice. I've been talking for a while. You can have a turn. I'll just go and go and go. This movie was so much to say. But I'll take a break for a moment and have a drink so you can.
No, I don't know how to go into plot development and pacing and stuff without dealing with spoilers on this one.
I would say the pacing is fast enough.
Yeah, I feel like there's like great storytelling, but then like every once in a while the director pauses for like a breath, and while the scenes
it's called a beat.
While things are continuing, in music it's called a beat.
No. It's literally called a beat in acting.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You take a beat.
Okay. All right.
Literally stage acting. Your direction will be say this line and take a beat, and it means to kind of take a step back, calm it down.
Well, but what I'm saying is scenes are still happening, mm-hmm. but there's no dialogue. Mm-hmm. It's all done with
I forgot.
actions.
Yeah, we talked about that even while we were watching it.
And
there's a lot of silent language in this.
So her body language going through the grieving,
not even just her, like
is Yeah, I mean,
I'm like,
there's
here,
other
talk,
people.
but I'm going to talk over
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I also love the use of symbolism in this film. There's a lot of red, especially that specific color of red that's the background of the billboard. They repeat that color red over and over again in the film.
I did not notice that.
And you put that against the green of that beautiful hill behind the billboards, and it's like the evil violence of what happened and life trying to come back is the way I kind of saw that.
Or maybe life continuing without it.
Yeah.
Like it's still there, but everybody else has moved on.
And then, like, there's a scene... Can I talk about the bug, or do I need to wait for spoilers?
I'd wait for the spoilers.
Okay. I will come back to the bug. But, yeah, I really liked how the director... we'd have this happen, and then there's this visual dialogue for a while, and then that goes into the next thing, and then it'll kind of back off for a little bit, and a lot of facial reactions by the characters of what is happening in this town.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a lot of like, I don't know, would this be a Shakespeare tragedy? I mean, is this like What We Dare Not Say, or is this more like a comedy? I mean, it is a very dark comedy, and the first half there's a lot of laughs. I mean, I laughed a lot. Second half you don't laugh as much, but
I wouldn't call it a dark comedy. I think that I would call it a drama, but there's a fair amount of witty dialogue throughout, because the people are witty, and lots of people deal with stress through humor.
Uh-huh.
I am one of them. In fact, you just went to the doctor with me the other day. Going to the doctor is very stressful for me, and I've mentioned a few times on the show that I've not been in great health. I think I'm on the mend. I think, and if not, there's a clear action plan at this point for what we're going to do. So, but I had to go to the doctor to do a follow-up, and it's so stressful with me, or for me, that I literally do nothing but crack ridiculous jokes the entire time. And like, it is dumb. My poor doctor, I feel so bad for her, because she'll ask me a serious question and I cannot answer it until I've joked about the serious question. Like, I literally can't do it. I cannot just answer the question. I have to beat around the bush and say a bunch of funny things and do my nervous laugh that is like hyper fast and totally manic, and then I can answer the question.
Well, I mean, when
like, I kept hearing him next to me going, God, like, snorting.
Well, that's ironic though, because I always love when they ask me, what symptoms I have.
You always say there's itching between your toes.
I'll go, well, I'm stuffed up, my throat hurts, I've got a headache. And there's this weird burning sensation between my toes. And they always stop and just like, what? And I'm like, I'm kidding about the last one. But
that's an actual symptom. I don't make up symptoms as jokes, but I will like have some kind of like ironic way of saying what's actually going on, because I can't just be like, well, I have this symptom and this symptom and this symptom and this symptom. I can't do that for some reason. And so I think that's sort of this. I swear this relates to the movie. So I think that's sort of what it is that is a lot of people do actually cope with stress and with tragedy with humor or with irony or sarcasm and things like that. Like those are the parts of the personality that tend to come out as a stress response and as a coping skill or a coping mechanism. I wouldn't say it's a skill. A lot of people would say that sarcasm is the lowest form of humor. They would be wrong, but because sarcasm is hilarious, but maybe I'm just not that evolved. I don't know. I like sarcasm. How original. So I was going somewhere with this. I have no idea where now. But I do think that I don't think it's necessarily a dark comedy. I just think that there's a certain amount of humanity that the writer was able to sort of capture in this, and that is part of it. And he does it beautifully, and so do the actors. About the unspoken language, there are literally, I just wanted to add, there's literally entire conversations in this movie that happen and not a single word is spoken. and it's just the way people are responding to the world around them and each other, and you can follow the entire conversation and nobody has said anything. And it's really well done to the actors. That's fantastic. And the directing and the cinematography and like everything that goes into making that work so that it translates to an audience, it's just well done. Yep. I feel like my little click.
Yeah. Getting ready for the horses.
Yeah. She needs to practice that.
Right.
So I think my overall opinion's pretty clear.
Oh yeah, I highly
10 out of 10.
Yeah,
you should.
I highly recommend this movie.
Highly recommend this movie. I want to get into Woody Harrelson though because I have got some stuff to say about that. So according to IMDb, he is most known for True Detective, The People vs. Larry Flint, Natural Born Killers, and Zombieland. Zim's recommendations are
Natural Born Killers, White Men Can't Jump, Solo, A Star Wars Story, Game Change, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I think we just saw that. And I added Cheers this week because
you forgot to include it last week.
I went back and I watched his first appearance on Cheers to get ready for the show. It didn't really help in any way, but it was just nice to see him like starting his career out.
Just in case you forgot what he looked like or anything. Like, yeah, that's
he is so lovable as Woody Boyd. I just, yeah. Cheers is always great.
Cheers is always great. It's true. Okay, so my recommendations are, and I will say I have not seen that many Woody Harrelson things, and so this is a very educational month for me, and I'm excited. Which I said last time, like I was already doing this before we started the show, where I'd like find an actor that I was interested in, and then I would just like look up everything they were in that I could stream and just watch it all. And so Woody Harrelson was actually the next one I was going to do, because I love Hunger Games and he's so phenomenal in it with such little screen time. And I was like, I really need to see more stuff with him in it. And so he was literally the next one I was going to do. And then we started the show, so that got put on pause. So I'm like from the beginning of the show, we were like, we're starting with Alexander Skarsgård because of Godzilla versus Kong. But we are headed towards Woody Harrelson. Like, we knew that day one before we ever began. I was like, we got to get to Woody Harrelson. And so it was just how we were going to get here. So my recommendations are Edge of 17, which we'll be watching next week. Shock and Awe, which we watched last week, and I thought was really, really good. Hunger Game trilogy, obviously, because, like, it's good. You should watch it if you haven't. And then I added 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, not only because this movie is phenomenal, but because his performance in particular. Everybody in it is phenomenal, but I was really blown away by what he did in this, because he has this thing where you have... How do I put this in words? So he has sort of 2 dialogues that are going at one time in his character. He's got what he's saying and doing on the outside, and then what is going on inside. And I had never seen, like, most of the stuff I've seen with Woody Harrelson, he's always got this kind of wry sense of humor, and he always does the same thing where, like, doesn't do the same thing in every role. It's just that he, sometimes when he cracks a joke or is saying, like, an ironic line or a sarcastic line, he'll, like, start the line, and then we'll stop and be like, and then start the line again. And it's a pattern that I've seen repeated. Do you know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Like, do you recognize it? Yeah, so it's something that he does, and so I hadn't really seen him do something very, very different. I think he even did that in this movie at one point. But in this movie, there is 2 different dialogues going on at the same time. And we can talk about it more, I think, when we get to spoilers. I can give specific examples. But he'll have like the external dialogue happening and a completely different and frankly contrary internal dialogue happening, and is portraying both of those successfully to the audience. So you are actually able to follow at the same time both, even though they are completely different messages, and in a few cases completely opposite messages. And I'd never seen him do anything like that before. Like I'm not even sure that there are a ton of actors that could pull that off in an honest way. And of course he does still, like, there's still some of the wry humor in here that he does so wonderfully. He's just got a knack for, I mean, humor obviously started on Cheers, but just the ability to kind of say something ironic but somehow make it sound like totally serious. I'm not a huge zombie fan, so just an example here. I'm not a huge zombie fan, but I do actually like Zombieland, and strictly because of his character. And it's stuff like that made me enjoy it. It was pretty much all of his lines were like that.
Fucking Twinkies.
This obsession with the Twinkies. They kept me going, man. This obsession with the Twinkies. And Twinkies are gross, so like I don't even get it. But it's just like he can handle that kind of humor. Like you have a completely serious situation. Like there's a point in Hunger Games, and it's not the first one, so it's not even the one we're going to watch this month. But there's a point in I think it's the second one where Katniss is freaking out about something, and he is like, "Get with it." And he's like snapping in her face. He's like, "Get with it. You never get off this train." And it's just like the whole conversation. What he's saying is somewhat ridiculous, but for some reason very believable because of the way that he's able to kind of portray those lines. There's not many actors that can pull that crap off.
Well, I always, going back to Zombieland, I always liked how he makes you think the whole time that the thing he's lost is his puppy. And at the end, he has to confront the fact that it was actually his son that he lost in the zombie uprising.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, it's his one moment of like true seriousness in that movie, and it's so touching. I just love that moment.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I don't remember that.
Okay.
At all.
Yeah.
And I'll never watch the movie again because it has dick face in it. So, but the other thing I wanted to say was I'd also never seen him do something where we had talked about beats. So there's beats in writing, which are slower. It's kind of like the ebb and flow of the writing. And I think that's what you were talking about, was kind of the beat in the storytelling.
Yeah.
And then you have beats with actors where you either have like a change or you take a moment. I'd never seen him do something where, how do I explain this without spoiling? Where you're here and then in a snap, you're here. Is that high enough to be seen on the camera? I don't know. We're like several seconds behind, but you're here, and then like in like a second, you're on another level, like totally different thing. And there is a moment in this, and it was pretty much, I might have even said "oh shit" out loud. I'll give the example when we get to spoilers. But there is something that happens, and then he's literally, there's a conversation and there's banter and there's all this stuff, and then something happens, and then he is a totally different person.
Oh, yeah.
He is meek, he's scared,
yeah.
He's like timid, like just all of a sudden, totally different person. And I was like, I literally went, oh shit, that was amazing. Like in my head, it was such a great, like, just pivot all of a sudden, and it comes out of nowhere. And it was such a cool moment. It was a scene with Woody Harrelson and Frances McDermott. That's her name, right?
Yes.
God.
Yeah,
Don't let me
she
screw up her name.
kind of does it in the opposite direction.
Because she does it the opposite direction, where she's sort of on the receiving end, and then all of a sudden she's like, it's okay, baby. We're going to take care of it. It's fine.
Yeah.
And like becomes very maternal all of a sudden. And so they go from this like opposing forces to like, bam, all of a sudden they're helping each other and they're taking care of it because something has happened.
Yeah.
And it happened so fast, but it is such a powerful moment. And it was like in that moment, I was like, I am so excited about this month. Like, this is going to be awesome if this is what I'm in store for, because I've seen the humor and stuff like that. And we'll get more of his humor next week. Next week is very much it's a funny movie.
Okay.
And like, I wouldn't say like a hardcore comedy, but it's a lot of that kind of wry, dry humor. But this role was very different than anything I've ever seen him in, and I was blown away, just absolutely blown away by his performance in this, which is why that has been added. I feel like I've done two things here. Like, I've talked about Chief Willoughby, and I've talked about that's why I was like, I want to go second, because it's like a whole thing.
Okay.
But that's why it's added to my recommendations. It's not even just because the movie itself is amazing, but his performance in this movie was like mind-blowing for me. It was so freaking good. Like I could have taken like 6 more hours of watching him do a performance like that. Like it was so it's one of the best performances I've ever seen in a movie. It was just hella good.
Well, yeah, I would completely agree. Well, I enjoyed him as Jonathan Landy in Shock and Awe. Like,
ooh,
this
nice connection. Well done.
This performance was such another level.
It was on another level.
Yeah. That,
like in another stratosphere. Jesus, it was amazing.
It's really sad on one hand that he got nominated for this movie because both of the performances were so good.
So good.
That it would be hard for me to say, oh, the other person deserved it. Because
it's hard, yeah. Because one of them, it's a more like linear storyline to follow. And then the other one, it's so much more internalized and like unspoken sort of journey that he's going on.
Hi,
it's hard to compare. Hey, my son must be asleep. Welcome. Glad you joined us. Thank you for babysitting. We were just gushing over Woody Harrelson's mind-blowingly amazing performance in this movie. Like I cannot say enough good things about, like, I had no idea he was capable of the level that I saw in this movie. It was so, there's no other, it was so good. Like, the whole movie is good, but I just, like, we're watching it for him, and so I was paying, like, special attention to him, and I just was like, I didn't know. Like, I knew he was good, but I didn't know, like, he was like that good. Like I feel like it's insulting to say it that way, and I'm not. Like I knew it was going to be good.
So many more movies that we're not watching this month that I now want you to see.
It was so good. I would turn around and watch this movie again tomorrow. And we just watched it yesterday.
What? We own it, so we can.
I know. I'm glad we bought it. This movie was really good. Really, really, really good.
So how would you, besides being on another level, what do you compare and contrast his work to what he did with Shock and Awe? Shock and Awe just seemed like a pretty basic role.
Yeah, it's... So in Shock and Awe, he's playing a real person.
Right.
And so you have something to draw from. Essentially, you can look at interviews and stuff with the person and kind of see their mannerisms and the way that they approach language, if that makes sense. The way that they express themselves and things like that, the way they hold themselves, carry themselves, phrase.
But
and so I don't know the person that he played, so it's hard for me to say like how well he did in that. Like, there are other actors that I've seen do like biopic sort of stuff, but I'm also familiar with the person they're playing, and I could be like, oh wow, like that's dead on, well done.
Or not even close. Yeah.
I feel like you're referencing something specific with that. Go ahead, spit it out.
So I love Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is an amazing actor, but he is no Walt Disney.
But could anybody have done Walt Disney? Because you sort of like worship Walt Disney, and so I feel like I'm not really sure they could have done anything. He didn't get the
mannerisms or the. I mean, he just nothing about him said Walt Disney.
He's still an actor.
He didn't get the accent right, that Midwest accent. Like it was not. I like the movie. I love Tom Hanks, like Forrest Gump all the way, but
Forrest Gump's amazing.
Yeah, I just could not get
behind
that performance.
To be fair, though, I'm not sure that anybody could have done that to your satisfaction. Short of resurrecting Walt Disney.
Well, that's what they should have done.
Obviously. It's just done some voodoo. Necromancy pulled that boy out of the ground. dusted him off, a little bit of makeup to get rid of the decay.
Oh, come on. They're just going to unfreeze his head and they'll walk out on tentacles.
On tentacles. Oh, speaking of tentacles. Okay, so a little bit off here. You weren't out there when I handed, so our son's backpack came in today for school. And he's so excited. And he picked the one with sharks all over it. And he pulls it out, but it's so big on him that, like, when you tighten the straps, they almost drag on the floor. Mm-hmm. And he's like, these are my tentacles! And starts chasing our daughter. He's like, I have tentacles! It's pretty funny. So he said tentacles, and, like, instantly everyone was like, oh, funny story. But back to Woody Harrelson.
Okay, hold on. You don't even have to wait 10 years. You've already got Tarkin in Rogue One, and they're filming a movie, a Vietnam movie, I believe it is, and the director has cast, I'm not making this up, has cast James Dean as the main character because he felt he would fit the movie the best. James Dean died in 1955. Never saw Vietnam, but that's what's happening.
Can I just say, so that it's on record for everybody here, it is hard enough for an actor to get their foot in the door and find a job. We don't need to be doing AI versions of actors who are dead. Go hire somebody like a normal person.
Except for maybe Humphrey Bogart.
No. I don't care how amazing they are. When they are dead, it is over. Also, I have a real issue with consent here. Because they're dead, they are not under contract with you. And so
you have to get permission from the...
I don't care. I don't care. Because their foundation or whoever owns their movies or any of it, like, they're not the person. And so this person is now going to have something added to their legacy that they had no say in. And I don't agree with that at all. I have a real problem with that.
Okay, so you don't think they should have done Tarkin in Rogue One?
So Tarkin is a different story because the character already existed.
Okay. And
he already played the character. Okay. So, like, if you're making... Like, when they used... why is it? I scrolled down. God. Twitch is dumb tonight. Those are a step on what I'm talking about. But, yeah. What are they saying? Mm-hmm. Oh, like with Princess Leia, too. Like, she was already... Like, she passed away during film. Like, I don't have a problem with that because they've already consented to be the image of those characters.
Right.
But when you're bringing somebody back for a role that they've got nothing to do with and they had no say in, they didn't read the script because they're dead and they've been dead for, like, 70 years. So, like, no. Go hire an actor that's starving and trying to get their start. There's lots of amazing actors out there that aren't working.
Well, if you want someone that kind of embodies that, hire someone that looks like them. I mean, one of the greatest things about Death Becomes Her is towards the end of the movie, they're at this big party where everybody who's taken the potion is there, and you see James Dean and Elvis and Einstein and, like, all these huge famous people who wanted to back away from the popularity had taken the thing, so they'll live forever, and they're just living these quiet lives. That's why you keep seeing Elvis Presley at truck stops, because he's actually still alive.
According to my aunt, he actually is. Elvis isn't dead, he's just gone home. What? Mon Mothma is the newer Star Wars movie where they just used the actress's daughter, if I recall. And she looked the part brilliantly. Yeah,
I don't remember who played her.
I've heard actors talk about two different approaches to playing a real person, either trying to impersonate them or ignoring that for the most part and playing them as a character and trying to capture their essence. Yep, I've heard that too. I've heard both of those. And I think it depends also not only on the actor, but on the role and how they, when they read the script, the way that they identify with the role. Is it something that they feel like they can really, like, embody who the person was, or do they need to take a more essence as the word there, and more essence-based approach. Try to embody the idea of the person more than the actual person. I think that's true, and I think I think actors need to take that on a case-by-case basis, and I think most of them do.
Well, I think that really applies here between Chief Willoughby and Jonathan Landy, because while playing Landy, he was playing in a biopic type role that was being used as propaganda, whereas Chief Willoughby, it's really just art. Like the director created this whole world that's so artistic, and so there was so much more to explore with that. And I think that's probably why I didn't dislike Shock and Awe, but I love, like, Shock and Awe is great, but I loved Three Billboards.
Yeah, I thought Shock and Awe was a really good movie, and I really enjoyed it. But if we're going to talk performances, like even just Woody Harrelson performances, comparing his performance just in terms of what you're seeing that he's capable of, I think if you look at Shock and Awe and you look at Three Billboards hands down is the better role.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know how he feels about it personally. I'd love to ask him. But hey, Woody, if you happen to be watching our show.
Well, what's that website where you can pay to hang out with your favorite movie star online? There's
a few of them, and it's usually for, like, it's not just any actor, though. They do it because you have Omaze, and it's always for charity, where they'll put stuff out, and you can, like, put your name in. So for $10, you can put your name in once, or for $20, you can put your name in, like, 10 times or something like that. But there's a few different ones.
No, there's one where you literally just pay the actor to hang out with you online for an hour.
Well, yeah, but it's like $250.
It depends on the actor.
It tends to be a lot, but it's almost always for charity. Price. Yeah, it's for charity. A couple of those sites kind of came out from the pandemic, actually, because a lot of the actors really enjoyed doing the Comic-Con scene, and they didn't get to do it. And so some of those sites kind of came out of that.
Paid big money to do those things. So.
Right, but a lot of them, I've heard them say it's fun because they get to kind of interact with fans, and they get to do photos, and it's fun to kind of see the way that people have, like, they enjoy. I've heard several of them say that they enjoy the cosplayers and the different ways that they kind of envision the costumes that they've worn and the characters they've played, and they love doing stuff like that, and they like doing the panels. And so several of the ones that I follow on Instagram, I don't actually follow that many people on Instagram, but a few of them, because I'm a nerd, so I've got, like, Nathan Fillion and Karen Gillan. Like, I've got all the nerdy actors on my Instagram. And a lot of them were, like, really missing Comic-Con this year.
I have Molly Ringwald.
You would. Karen Gillan, I actually highly recommend on Instagram because she's hysterical. I have her on Twitter. She is so funny. She is so freaking funny.
On Instagram, I think the only actress I have is Molly Ringwald.
So I have a few.
But Twitter, I follow a bunch of them. So
I have Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. Okay. I definitely, if you're going to follow one of them, follow both of them, because
Patton Oswalt. I follow Patton Oswalt.
They have a lot of stuff, like, for each other and supporting each other, and I dig stuff like that. Like, I really like when people are like, look, healthy marriages exist, even in celebrities. Here's ours. Like, I like stuff like that. Like, you know, people are capable of having healthy relationships. I love when healthy relationships are portrayed in movies, because it's so easy. It's so easy to go the drama route and be like, melodrama, drama. And, like, it's so nice when they're like, hi, there can be drama in our lives and we can still have a healthy relationship portrayed.
I follow Emily Cadrelli. Is that how you pronounce it?
I have no idea.
Emily's Wonderlab. Great show.
If you have kids, check out Emily's Wonderlab.
It's on Netflix.
Show is awesome.
Great. All right, well.
So let's get back, because you did a really skillful job of getting us back on track, and then I pulled us right back off again.
I tried.
You tried. It's a noble effort. I'm going to suggest we go ahead and take our 5-minute break, because I think we're kind of to that point. We're actually about 5 minutes late for it.
Yep.
So we're going to take 5, stretch your legs, refresh your drinks, And then if somebody wants to type no spaces, exclamation mark next movie, it'll pop up the preview for the movie we're going to be doing next week, and you guys can take this opportunity to watch it. I need to pull up the right screen in order to actually go to break, so saying it is only half the job. All right, guys, we'll be back in about 5 minutes with spoilers. When I come back, we will, no holds barred, tell you everything about this movie that you haven't already heard. And we will see you then. See you shortly. And we are back. Hopefully. Are we back? Let's click over here and find out. Our video with chat is so far behind, it's ridiculous. So let's see if we're actually back.
Oh, wow. There.
Somewhere in here we'll see. Hey, there's us. Okay. And I've got, did I unmute us?
You did.
I did. Go me. I did it all correctly. Welcome back to Spoilerville. Now we can talk about things how we want. But first, let's hit family rating.
Okay.
This movie is rated R. This movie has a lot of language.
A lot of language.
They say fuck a lot. A lot. A lot, a lot, a lot, a lot.
And obviously, violence. There's a decent amount of violence. Alcohol use, smoking, drug use.
Drug use?
Yeah.
Who was using drugs?
She smokes a J at one point. And they talk about smoking marijuana.
I never saw her smoke marijuana.
Yeah, she smokes a J at one point.
Where?
She's with her boss.
That was out front of the building?
Yeah.
That was a cigarette. You could see the filter.
No, there's a point where she's smoking a marijuana cigarette.
That's not what I saw.
Okay.
But they do talk about it
Yeah.
because that was the bullshit reason that the cop gave for arresting her boss.
Her daughter also mentions it in the flashback.
Yeah, so there's reference to drugs at the very
Yeah.
least. You do see the crime scene photo, which all you see basically is a burned body.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me rephrase that. A charred body. But there is also, you see a burn victim.
Yep.
You see a guy get thrown out of a window and beaten to a bloody pulp.
Uh-huh.
While the cops watch and do jack shit.
You see a guy beaten really badly in a bar.
In a bar.
You
Yeah.
see someone committing arson at a police station.
And the big one, and hold on, give me just 2 seconds to look it up. Okay, you also see somebody commit suicide. If you or someone you know is thinking of suicide, please, please, please call the suicide hotline. The number is 800-273-8255. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. You are not alone. Find somebody to talk to. Again, number 800-273-8255. This is a national hotline. So as long as you are in the United States, this is the number you call. All right? Rewind the video. Play it again if you need the number. I've said it twice. Please, please, if you or anyone you know is considering suicide, call, get help. We would miss you. You matter. You're important. You do see suicide in this movie.
Yes.
And it's sad.
Yes.
And I think my favorite line in the entire movie was when his wife says, "What do you do on the day your husband kills himself?"
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, God. That was the only moment in the entire movie that I almost cried. Because I just was like...
But, I mean, I think that mirrors how Mildred was feeling. Like, what do you do on the day your daughter is raped and murdered?
Yep.
Like, I again, more of the symbolism in this back and forth. And
There was definitely a very clear parallel there.
But, yeah, it's rated R. It should be rated R. I don't really see a reason why kids should need to see this film
I don't even think teenagers, honestly. It's got no place in school.
But if you're going to do there, please, as always,
preview it first. And be ready for those conversations.
Yes.
Particularly with suicide. Suicide is so common among adolescents. So common. And I wish I had an actual statistic ready for you. But if you are going to show this to your teenager, be ready to talk about suicide. And I don't mean the whole, it's a mortal sin stuff, because while that may mean something to you, to a 16-year-old, I promise you, they don't give a shit. Give them something to live for. Make sure they know that they're loved. And make sure they know that there's always somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Suicide's a big deal, and not enough people take it seriously.
All right.
Big deal for me.
So, with the symbolism, I was going to talk about
the bug. The bug.
So when she is in the office of the ad agency that owns the billboards, hiring or paying for the billboards to first be put up, there is a beetle on the windowsill that's just kind of like, ugh. And I really thought that scene was genius, because while the beetle is on its back squirming, the what is his name? Red Wilby is in the chair, and he's kind of squirming like, how do I deal with this? And he eventually like goes along with it and is like, yeah, stick it to the man. But at first
he was quite to that extent.
At first he was like, let what, you know. And so while he's squirming, the bug is squirming. And then when he kind of changes and is like, goes along with it, she bends down and flicks the bug over and saves its life. Mm-hmm. And it crawls away. And I just thought that was like such a neat scene to show in two different ways what the director was trying to convey with those two people scheming for this billboard situation.
Well, and I think there was some symbolism for her daughter as well,
sure.
And the fact that nobody helped her.
Yeah.
I want to just add in here. So Tegwin also said, don't wait for your child to bring up suicide. Go ahead and have the conversation. And I just want to put that out here in case somebody didn't see it in the chat. Like, it's a very important thing to note. We had the conversation many times when I was younger. It's an important conversation. It's awkward every time, but it has to happen. Could save lives. Because you never know. The people who often actually mean to do it are not typically advertising it.
No, it's not appropriate. I was going to say a Dane Cook joke, but we'll just leave it at that.
Dane Cook jokes are rarely appropriate. Yeah, definitely have the conversation. In fact, I will say my daughter is 6 and we've already discussed suicide. We found some really interesting ways to, my kids both actually, in fact, with my 4-year-old even, we've discussed it to a certain extent, not quite to the extent that I have with my 6-year-old. But there's a musical that they like, and one of the characters in it attempts suicide shortly before the intermission. And it's otherwise a very, like, funny musical. Mm-hmm. But it's got a couple of really serious moments in it, and that's one of them. And it allowed me to have a conversation with my kids about what happened, because it happens off stage. You hear the gunshot. Like, basically you have a kid opens the door, the kid that's their delivery boy opens the door and is like, no, Mr. Marichuk, no, and goes running in, and then you hear a gunshot and everything turns red. And so, like, the red lights on the backdrop. So it happens off stage, and I had to explain to both my kids what happened. And I didn't mince words. I was like, he tried to shoot himself because he's very sad. And Arpad, the delivery boy, saves him, I guess, is sort of what's implied. And then with my son, he was like, oh, okay. Because he's only 4. He was 3 at the time of the conversation. With my daughter, there was more of a conversation. She was like, why would he do that? And then we had to talk about it. And so we've already started those conversations, and my kids were 3 and 6 when I had them. So don't wait. Have the conversation. I feel like I've harped on this enough. We have some more stuff to talk about. But yeah, seriously, it's like a very, very serious thing, guys. So you discussed the bug. I wanted to talk about the internal and external dialogue with Chief Willoughby. There is a point, and I think it's really one of their first conversations, where they're sitting on the swing set at her house, right? Wasn't that like the first big conversation they had? Because he was like, I don't think those signs are very fair. And she's like, it's gotten your attention, hasn't it? Like, it's done the job. And it was an interesting conversation, because you can tell as the conversation goes on that he's understanding why she's doing what she's doing, and actually, at least on some level, you don't understand at that point to what level, but on some level, agrees with her. And he's not saying that, though. What he's saying out loud is, I don't think it's very fair. And he's like, there's this other thing. Don't you know I'm dying of cancer? And she's like, yeah, everybody knows that.
Mm-hmm. The whole town knows.
And he was like,
and you still did it?
And you still put up those billboards? And she's like, yeah, it's not going to do me any good after you die. And so the conversation that they're having is very much a, why are you doing this to me? I can't believe you would do that even though you know I'm dying. I don't think it's very fair conversation that he's having verbally, but also he's very successfully showing these reactions to what she's saying in his body language and in his facial expressions and even in his tone of voice, that what he thinks about it is not necessarily what he's saying about it. Like, what he's saying is what he needs to say as the chief of police and as the one that's being called out on the billboards. But he totally agrees with it. And then, of course, later on, he validates that suspicion. So if you're not sure when you're watching it, that's how he's feeling. He does leave her a letter. He's unfortunately the character that commits suicide, and he leaves her a letter in the end that, are we going to come back? I'm just seeing the spinning thing. Are we back?
We dropped again.
Are we out?
Yep, look, 0 session, 0 viewers.
Are we coming back? Are we back? Oh, I see my mouth moving again. That's promising.
Is there anybody out there?
I know. It was weird. We
Back.
are back.
Okay.
So basically, I'm not sure where it cut out, but what I was trying to say was that on the outside, he's saying a lot like it's not fair and things like that. But it's very clear internally with the way that Woody Harrelson's portraying the character that he doesn't completely disagree with what she's doing. And he can see that what she's doing has the potential to be very effective. And I really loved that. And it's such a complicated thing to have what you're saying on the outside and what you're saying on the inside be completely opposite messages and have it be completely believable and easily translated by the audience. Mm-hmm. And it's seriously the first conversation that you see the two characters have. And I think I even said something to you at the time where I was like, I think he likes what she's doing. Like, yeah. I don't care what he's saying because he looks like he agrees with it. And then that suspicion is validated later on because he is the character that commits suicide, unfortunately. Because he doesn't want his wife and his daughters to see him die away slowly. He has pancreatic cancer, I think it was. Yeah. And he doesn't want them to see him waste away, and so he kills himself. But he leaves Mildred a letter and basically says, oh, geez, are we at? Oh, no, we're back. Okay, and says that he thought it was a brilliant, like a chess move, I think was the line. It's like a chess move. And he agrees with it and even pays for, he knows he's killing himself and that he's going to do it before the killer has been found. And so he pays for the next month because he knows she's having trouble coming up with the money to pay for the billboards. And so he's actually the one that pays for the next month of the billboards himself.
But as a bonus, then she's got to defend those billboards for an extra month.
And he knows that too.
Yes.
Yeah, he knows that too.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the relationships they have.
Yeah.
Which is me to the other thing that I said I wanted to give the specific example for was the quick change in the personality. Happened when she allegedly drills a hole in the dentist's thumbnail.
Yeah. He did that to himself.
Did that to himself. He slipped. It wasn't me. And so she's...
we're going to lose it again.
We are going to lose it again because I hear my computer dinging. What is going on with our internet tonight? We're going to wait until we're back. So if you're seeing me stare at the TV like an idiot, that's just me waiting to see if we are going to come back. We are offline. Dang it. Are we back? I see myself moving. I think we're back. It doesn't say we're offline anymore. Yes, wave your hands in the air like you just don't care.
All right.
Except I absolutely do care because I don't know what's going on with our internet, but it's really annoying. Damn it!
Dang.
Let's try to get through this.
All right.
This is crazy. What was I trying to say? Oh, so of course she is being questioned about what happened, and they have their typical witty back and forth. She's given him trouble and being difficult and not answering any questions, and he's trying to coax out basically a confession that she actually did it. And internet is not being cooperative, Tegwin. I know. Yeah, it's been like that all night. It's really, really stressing me out. My anxiety level is very high at the moment. But in case you can't tell, I don't know if you guys can see me wringing my hands. I literally do stuff like this when I'm stressed, is I like mess with my fingers. And I know you're just sitting there like twiddling your thumbs, like whatever, and I'm just like, oh.
It is what it is. You can't change it. So.
I get a little more tense. I didn't say it was logical. I get a little more tense every time.
Anxiety isn't logical.
No, anxiety is not logical. It's chemicals in the brain.
Yeah.
So I do need you to stop twiddling your thumbs. So it's so distracting. It's out of the corner of my eye. There's just this little like thing going on. Anyway, so they have the witty back and forth that they usually do, and it is very similar to that first conversation they have, where like you could tell that he appreciates her stubbornness to a certain extent. Like he's impressed by it, I think, and respects her a lot. And it really shows in the way that they interact, that they have a lot of respect for each other. And in case you weren't sure about that, I wasn't sure if he coughed or sneezed.
He coughed.
He coughs, and it sprays blood on her face. And it happened so suddenly. They're literally in the middle of a conversation, and he coughs suddenly, and you have the spray of blood, and it's so slow when I describe it, but it literally just happens like this. And immediately he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And like he is suddenly just he looks like a scared child. Yeah. And she's like, it's okay, baby. We're going to take care of it. And she's like, I'm going to go get someone. You're okay. And like she goes and she gets help, and then he's being taken away on the ambulance. And like, it's so quick when it happens. And it was really just this moment where I was like, oh my God, he is like, I already knew he was a phenomenal actor, but he is so above and beyond what I expected. And I just, like, that was really the moment that I was just absolutely floored by his performance. Because I'd never seen him play a character like that, where he's the timid one. I've never seen him be timid in any role.
Right. He's
always had a pretty robust personality in the things I've seen. And this was just, it was so... in such stark contrast to anything I'd ever seen him do before, and it was it's heartbreaking, honestly.
Yeah. Just both of the way that scene is played out.
I know she immediately like the mom in her takes over,
this, and like look of, oh no, but it's okay, sweetie. We're gonna take care of this. Like yeah. It was great.
Well, and he's like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to, and then like there's a moment where he goes, it's blood, and she's like, I know. It's okay. Yeah. I'm gonna go get somebody.
Yeah. And
like she's so calm, and she takes like it's such. I think it's probably the most powerful scene in the movie, for me at least. In terms of that kind of emotion, that was a really powerful scene.
So I'm gonna, on that note, switch it over to Dixon.
Yes, because there's some good ones with Dixon too. Now that we can actually talk about what happens with him.
So of course he is the racist. He is also.
He's not even just he's just a bigot.
He's low IQ, not very intelligent.
Not very intelligent.
Went to police academy for 6 years.
6 years because he got held back. Yep. And can't put it together. They're talking about somebody who was overseas and it's classified, but I'll give you a hint. It was Sandy. And he goes, it doesn't really narrow it down that much.
Yeah. So
he's not able to infer the information, basically.
So he acts out in violence. Everything is anger and hate driven. Mm-hmm. And to the point when, after he finds out that Willoughby is dead, he takes it out on Red and throws him out a second-story window, and then goes down to the street level and beats him to a pulp. I think he also mashes the secretary's face, doesn't he?
Yep.
On his way out.
Yep.
And that's the scene where she said that his fellow officers don't do anything to hold him
they
accountable.
just stood there.
Now there is a new chief coming in, who he didn't know, who is walking up and sees it, and he does something about it. But his fellow officers never did anything about it.
Nope. Well, and I'm going to pause for just a minute because you brought up the new chief.
Okay.
And I want to point out the level of racism that actually went through the entire police station because they wanted him to prove that he was the new chief.
Yeah.
Why? Because he was black.
Yeah.
And so I liked that they show that it actually wasn't just Dixon.
No.
Dixon was the one that was overtly prejudiced against literally everyone.
Right.
But it actually went through the entire station, even through the ones that were supposedly like good cops. They also were like, prove it. Do you have some kind of documentation to prove that you're the new chief?
Yeah. And so when this new chief takes over, he fires Dixon.
Yes, well done.
And Dixon decides to spend the rest of his life in a bottle, and just happens to be in a bar, where a person behind him starts telling a story.
No, okay. You gotta back up, because that's not entirely true.
Why?
Because that all happens after he gets the letter. Because the letter is the moment that he changes.
Sure, that's true. That's true.
Because that's really the point that his character pivots.
So Willoughby left him a letter as well. And in it he says that I see in you the ability to be a good police officer, but you're never going to reach that what you want, being a detective, unless you learn to love.
And there's a really important thing that is said in there, which is you may think it's weak. You may think it makes you weak. You may think it makes you look weak. But it doesn't. The bravest thing you can do is love. And that is how you learn to detect things. If you can't love people and you're blinded by hatred all the time, you're never going to see what's in front of you.
Mm-hmm. And
while he's reading the letter, the police station is burning down around him, and guess who's not detecting it?
There's a sense of irony there.
It's a very that scene's a nice dark humor scene because she's throwing Molotov cocktails at the police station while he's reading this letter about what he needs to change in order to be able to detect things around him and to kind of gain that ability. And she throws like 5 Molotov cocktails before one actually like breaks the window, so like everything's on fire. And it's not until one goes through the window and lands literally right next to him that he notices.
Yeah.
But that letter is really where his character pivots because he's kind of realizing it as he reads it. And as soon as he realizes the station is on fire, he only saves one thing. And that's
the police file on
Angela.
Yeah,
her daughter's police file.
Yeah.
And runs through the fire to save it. He puts it under his clothes to protect the file.
Yeah.
And runs out, and he's on fire, and
he
throws
on
it.
Fire.
He throws it so that it's not burning with him.
Yeah. And then he's at a bar, and he hears someone behind him. And we had already seen this someone go into Mildred's place of work and harass her. And this someone is telling a friend about raping and burning a woman. And he thinks that it's our guy and does something brilliant. I love it. He starts a fight with the guy and scratches his face in order to get DNA so that they can try and match it. Mm-hmm. And I just think, like, yes, he's clicking, he's getting it. Mm-hmm. And just his redemption at the end. Well, he's still he's far from a perfect man. Like, he's finally getting it. And sadly, it ends up not being the guy. But he tells Mildred, he may not be your guy, but he's definitely guilty.
Yeah, he's
someone's
definitely
guy.
done it. Yep.
And I know where he lives. He lives in Idaho. And she's like, it's funny, I'm driving to Idaho in the morning. And so they leave the film letting you decide, do they go and kill the guy or turn around? because neither one are sure that's what they want to do.
Well, and I liked that they had a conversation about it too, where she
Yeah.
said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And he was like, "No." "Are you?" And she's like, "No." And they're like, "I guess we'll decide on the way." And that's really where the movie ends.
Yeah.
And I liked that it left it there, where, because everybody makes choices, and the whole movie's about choices.
My problem with this is...
I know, we wanted to talk about this. We're running out of time, so let's have this conversation and fast forward.
It's the only... Okay, so it's the only issue I have with this movie is I don't understand why the guy would have harassed Mildred at her place of work
if he's not the guy.
If he's not the guy. Mm-hmm. Why would he even care? Why would he put himself out? If he's guilty of something himself, he's not going to bring attention to himself. Like, what was the point of that?
And I had the answer. I have a potential answer.
Yeah, and I mean...
Because I interpret it differently. But you're looking at it as a movie watcher, and I'm looking at it as somebody with an education in psychology. And so there's certain things. So he is, I mean, clearly what he has done is raped and burned a body, okay? And so, because he makes a comment, his friend asks him, was she hot? And he said, well, once the gasoline kicked in, she was, because that's apparently hilarious to assholes. So the point, we kind of talked about this before we got on the show, so I'm going to just kind of give you the quick version because we're running out of time. If I'm capable of quick versions, am I capable of that? I don't know. I never say anything quickly. But we thought he was having PTSD in Iraq. I don't think it's PTSD. I do think that he has raped and murdered somebody. I think he's been involved in something like that happening. And
most likely in Iraq or Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they don't.
And which is why he's not being held accountable for it. But he shoot. Are we losing it again?
Yep.
My computer dinged.
It's the yellow
every time my computer
triangle.
Ah, damn it! It still says we're live.
Are we live?
Can you guys still hear us? Because on ours we're totally frozen out. It says offline now. It'll come back. It'll come back. It'll come back. Come on back.
Any moment now.
And what's dumb is it still says we have internet.
Yeah.
Because we still have the green light. Attempt number 2 to reconnect. This is really frustrating. Reconnection successful. Was it though?
Something happened. There we go.
Are we back?
All right. Looks like we might be back.
Are we? Are we back? If I move around, do I see us? It says we're live, but I don't see us moving. Are we frozen? So I see us moving on ours, so that's promising.
Are we still live?
I don't know what's going on tonight. I feel like half of our time has been wasted just waiting for the internet to come back.
Well, that's why we're over time.
We are over time. If you guys can hear us, let us know. If you can't see us, I'm just going to let that go. As long as you can hear us, we'll keep going. I still see 0 viewers.
Yeah. But we're only 53 seconds in, and we've been about that behind. So there we go.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Sorry about that.
We're going to go ahead and talk. So
okay.
My response
PTSD,
when Zim brought that up was that typically in the case of rapes, it's a power play. It's related to power in terms of the psychological input for it. And I would think in terms of burning the body that that's not just about covering evidence, given the way that it was joked about. I think the reason he went after Mildred was maybe a certain amount of like reliving something that he did in Iraq. Not in terms of PTSD because he's bragging about it, but in terms of like reliving the good old days sort of thing, was sort of what I take from it, just because typically the profile for rapists is power related or control related, which kind of go hand in hand. So that was sort of my take for it, but they don't really give us that much information about that guy. So it's hard to really make any sort of assumptions from that, beyond that. So I can just go off of like the basic knowledge that I know of most rape cases. That tends to be what it is. At least in terms of rape of a stranger, there's a lot of rapes that happen that are crossing lines, lack of consent kind of stuff. They're not all violent, but most violent rapes, it tends to be about control or power or both.
I don't know. I don't.
Because they don't really tell us much, so it's hard to say.
I don't like that he wasn't the guy. So.
It makes it seem strange that he would go after her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree, but I also, I mean, our video is not even moving, so I hope we're moving for you guys, but I think we need to wrap it up because
there's something going on in your computer.
Oh, jeez Louise. Oh, that's a blue circle this time instead of a yellow circle.
It was the yellow just a second ago.
Was it? We are offline again.
All right, well, let's just do our...
Oh, it says we're live again. Are we back? Are things like offline, then live, then offline, then live, then offline, then live? It's ridiculous. So I don't know how much you guys heard. Hopefully you can hear us now. I see us moving, so I'm assuming you can. We're going to just wrap this up because I am so sick and tired of dealing with the internet. I'm sorry that today has been such a crapshoot with connection. I don't know what is going on. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's insane.
We're just going to wrap it up.
We're going to wrap it up.
We loved the movie.
Yep. Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
For adults.
Yes.
Next week, we've got Edge of 17, which I know Tegwood mentioned earlier that she has seen it before, and I know that because she's the one I watched it with because I've seen it before too, but Zim hasn't.
I have not.
And Zim is going to love this movie. So. It's definitely like his sense of humor. Very, very dry sense of humor kind of movie, but very, very funny. You'll enjoy it.
You can check that out on Netflix.
It's on Netflix, yes. And then still coming up this month, we've got Solo, A Star Wars Story, Prairie Home Companion, and of course The Hunger Games. The Hunger Games will be the movie that links us to our next actor. We're going to give you a hint every week. So if you guys recall from last month, the last movie that we do every month will have both this actor. Oh my God, if we are going out again, I'm going to lose my mind. Has both the actor from this month, Woody Harrelson, and the actor for our next month. So they will always be in the last movie together. In this case, they will be in Hunger Games together. And our clue this week is that next month's actor will also be male. We're going to break our pattern. We try to do like boy, girl, but that's not going to happen this time. So yeah, we will do another guy next month. We're going to double up on girls at some point to make up for it.
We will, yes.
Yeah, at some point. Yes. So next week is The Edge of 17. I highly recommend it. It's a very, very good movie. We'll be back next week, 8 p.m. Central, to discuss said movie. Edge of 17. I think I've said it like 6 times now. It's going to be The Edge of 17. All right. I'm Mel. This is Zim. We'll be back next week with more Monday Movie Madness, 8 p.m. Central, Monday nights, and...
Mad Misadventures. Mel and Paul play games live Tuesday and Thursday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central. Check it out.
Yes, we are working our way through the Pirates of the Caribbean storyline in Sea of Thieves. We are, I think, on the 3rd quest line.
Fun.
At this point. Yes, it's very fun. I definitely recommend you come and watch me be a
do it all, 'cause
horrible shot. I can't aim at anything. I'm bad at hitting them with the sword. I'm bad at hitting them with the gun. I'm just there, and Paul does all the work. So I just try to keep up. I'm good at driving this ship.
We'll see you next week. Same mad time, same mad channel.
You guys have a great week. I'm so sorry things have been so bonkers tonight. I have no idea what is happening with our internet. Right. Hopefully next week will be better. Take care. I forgot to prep the screen. Hi guys, you're still seeing us do this. Whoops. All right.